Hello, today's lecture is on DeSoto and the Indians. The earliest encounter between Europeans and Indians was not good. Hernando DeSoto first explored the area in 1540. He and his conquistadors brutalized the natives. Our objectives in this module are to acquire a basic knowledge and understanding of the native inhabitants of early Arkansas in terms of their distinctive cultures. The 1700s began a period of profound change both for the native peoples and for the Europeans. Hernando DeSoto first explored the area in 1540 and found prosperous, large native farming communities. By the time the French arrived in 1670, the area was sparsely settled by native peoples in smaller dispersed villages. It was filled with wildlife. DeSoto. In 1543, Spanish conquistador Hernando DeSoto entered present-day Florida near Tampa and traveled westward overland. He entered Arkansas just south of present-day Memphis, Tennessee. He and his party brought violence and terror to the Indians wherever they traveled. He came with weapons unfamiliar to the natives. His group of about 600 warriors brought their armor, horses, war dogs, that is mastiffs, and weapons. They also brought disease. They destroyed communities and large areas of cropland as they searched for gold. DeSoto's incursion permanently changed the prehistoric Mississippi and Plaquemine way of life. The cattle survived relatively intact. Because the Mississippian and Plaquemine Indians had large communities with centralized storage for their crops, DeSoto was able to conquer those communities. They had a large army to feed and raided the food stores. What they did not use, they destroyed. They also destroyed the crops and laid waste to the extensive agricultural fields. After DeSoto's departure, these two groups declined drastically, and large agricultural communities faded into obscurity. The Indians from those areas merged into the later tribes that occupied Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana. The Caddo survived intact after DeSoto because of the way they organized their society around family homesteads. Conquering the small Caddo trade centers yielded few crops and supplies, and raiding individual farms was too difficult for DeSoto. So what were the historic tribes? When European colonists began to settle Arkansas, there were several tribes present. Chief among them were the Quapaw, Tunica, Korowa, Osage, and the Caddo. More information about these tribes can be found online at the Encyclopedia of Arkansas. The Quapaw were a part of the Sioux family of tribes. They migrated from the Ohio River Valley into Arkansas as European settlers began to move into the eastern and southeastern part of the present-day United States in the 17th century. They were known as the downstream people. When they migrated down the Ohio River and reached the Mississippi River, they moved south, downstream. They occupied central and eastern Arkansas along the Arkansas River. The Quapaw mostly formed permanent settlements and lived in a sedentary farming lifestyle. They hunted, but wild game was not their major food source. The Osage. The Osage were also part of the Sioux family of tribes. They moved into the area at about the same time as the Quapaw due to pressure from European settlers in the east. Known as the upstream people, when they reached the Mississippi River, they moved upstream, north and further west into present-day southwest Missouri and northwest Arkansas. Their permanent settlements were in Missouri, but they hunted extensively throughout Arkansas and occasionally clashed with the Quapaws in disputes over hunting grounds. They followed the bison herds. The Tunicas and Korowas. The Tunica and Korowa tribes were closely related. They lived in extreme southeast Arkansas along the Mississippi River, south of its junction with the White River. The Korowas were mentioned in the accounts of Marquette and Joliet expeditions. The Tunicas are better known. These two tribes left and joined others in Mississippi and Louisiana by 1700. They were settled farmers, likely descendants of the prehistoric Plaquemines. Not much is known about them. The Caddo. The Caddo occupied the territory in southwest Arkansas, along the Red River and the Washita River. Their community centers were much smaller than those of the Mississippians and Plaquemines. Caddo agriculture consisted of many individual family farms. Families stored their own food in their individual, widely dispersed farms. The community centers functioned primarily as trade centers for surrounding farms, not unlike our modern local farmers markets. That's the end of this lecture.